Doing a bit of a walk and talk today, whatever pops into my head. Seems a shame to waste all this beautiful weather on a lot of what's going through my head right now. But needs to be said. It's early yet, not a lot of people around. See how busy it gets a bit later. I'll take a little bit of a walk over to the lighthouse. Well, now it's almost 3 o'clock. The place is practically empty. Very unusual. Could be that the price of gas being what it is, a lot of the people used to come out this way from eastern end of Toronto through Oshawa, Whitby, are staying closer to home. Can't say I blame them. Even this little trip of mine costs twice as much now as it did the same time last year. Yeah, it'd certainly be a good thing if you were into solitude on the beach, but not a great thing if you had a family and had to make financial choices whether you could go to the beach or get groceries or pay your hydro bill. Goes to show the lunacy of the people we have in government. When you look at what's going on right now, the price of fuel, for example, has a lot to do with the choices that are being made by government to try and push this new green agenda, which is not a bad idea, but when you start trying to develop one source of energy and don't really get far enough along, and you shut down the other ones, this is going to be a problem. And we know, for example, that subsidies and loans and development programs for traditional fossil fuels has been cut back since 2019. Part of the plan was to make fuel expensive enough to turn people towards buying electric vehicles. What these great thinkers didn't plan on is the fact that when you have the vast majority of our agricultural system set up to run off diesel and gasoline, and the fact that fertilizer is largely produced via natural gas rather than biological means, this is going to cause shortages of food. Not sure what brainiac figured that one out. But I guess that's the problem when you have all kinds of people running the infrastructure of this world who never actually spend any time milking cows or running a combine, planting, harvesting. Crunch all the numbers on the macro end without even realizing what's going on. It's either incompetence or pure evil. Take your pick. I mean, what's going on right now, someone in grade 8 could have figured out with basic math. If the world is already running on a just-in-time inventory system and global in nature, where, for example, you have most of your microchips made in China, Taiwan, that if you get on bad speaking terms with these people, you're going to be on the bottom of the list of service, and you won't be able to sell any products that require those chips. Or that if you offshore all your manufacturing, you're going to be dependent on those areas of the world to supply your needs. Gross incompetence. The idea, for example, I know in the Maritimes, these huge fishing factory ships. Fish are frozen and they're all packaged in China, then sent back here. Not sure how it makes sense to have some cod or salmon harvested, packaged in China, then shipped, I don't know, was it 5,000 miles back to North America? All to save a few dollars. And now the incompetence / evil is coming home to roost. A good time to anyone, if you have any spare cash, to stock up what you can. Fill the freezer if you have one. Stock up on dry goods that don't go off, just in case. Because this isn't going to get any better. I'm actually glad that both my kids have flown the nest, because the idea now of having young dependent children in this current world we're in is a scary prospect. Especially when in the last 20, 30 years or so, we have been divided up into ever smaller groups, races, gender choices. All these groups ever more inclusive, fighting for the same piece of pie. The old divide and conquer. So, where does that leave you? Gonna have to plan. Figure out where you're gonna go from here. You know, I can't help but think that this is a lot like any point in a civilization where things start to fall apart. Corruption becomes so deep within government circles that those that are in power are only really looking out for those that put them there, basically dancing with who brung them. Give lip service to the working people. Eventually it degrades to such a point that the working people have enough. And that's where we have revolutions, uprisings, civil unrest. But this time around, society's broken up into so many little segments. You don't have these monolithic blocks, say, for example, between rich and poor. Now we have the upper end elite, that 1 or 2% that owns the vast majority of the entire world, and all these little subgroups broken down by gender pronouns, racial groups, left versus right, north versus south. So divided, it makes you think it's almost part of the plan. You face no opposition when your opposition's busy killing one another or arguing with one another. So I wouldn't feed into any of that. Look after your immediate family and friends. Build your own little community if you can. And a lot of it really, look back in time about how our forefathers did. I mean, the ones that came early to this country, and speaking of Canada, pretty much more same thing for the States, came over here with a suitcase, clothes on their back, hopes and dreams. Nobody cut them any slack. The groups that are already here treated them like second-class citizens. Used to be bars, for example, that would have a sign No Irishmen or dogs allowed. Everyone took their kick at the cat. But communities formed, villages started, people worked together, people looked out for one another, and no one expected anything for nothing. And I think that's what we've lost. That self-reliance. You can get that back. The first thing is looking in the mirror and not blaming anybody but yourself. You got an issue, you have to work on it. You drink too much, cut back. You don't get enough exercise, put your shoes on and go for a walk. Not feeling good about your community? Get out and volunteer. Get off your ass. Like the old saying, don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution. Storms are coming. Be prepared as you can. Pretty rocky path coming back from the lighthouse. This here is one of the main channels that goes from the Bay of Quinte right out into Lake Ontario. As you can see, I've been here about a half an hour. Not one boat's gone through. I mean, gas at the regular pump's expensive enough, but when you buy your fuel at the marina, it's even worse. Big premium. It's going to be a quiet summer for the people in this location if this keeps up, because this is a tourist-driven area. Huge amount of money have been spent on infrastructure, resorts, higher-end hotels going up what used to be basic motels that average people could afford. Now you're looking at $250, $300 a night places. Real estate's got up to the point where the locals can't even afford to live here anymore. And now they say we're in for a real estate crash. Which of course means a little further down the road, those that have a mortgage try and renew it and it's underwater, their house is worth $150,000, $200,000 less than they paid. Big problem. Finally have a boat coming through. First one today. Now it sounds like all gloom and doom, but it's not really. Anytime there's a period in life, in history like this, it's also a chance for opportunity and growth. It's like the old saying that hard men bring good times. Good times bring soft men, and soft men bring hard times. And there's so much truth to that. We see it over and over again. The minute you start seeing a society lose its cohesiveness, it becomes divisive. On a broad scale, it's when it all falls apart. Because people begin to ask, well, what's in it for me? There's nothing in it for them. They stop contributing. As we have seen in recent years, the falling of marriage numbers. Family units breaking up. The percentage of single people is huge compared to what it used to be. The average age at marriage now for men is almost 30, 28, 29 for women. People, if they have children, not even at replacement numbers. One, maybe two kids. Some of that I would imagine for financial reasons, especially now. But it creates a problem for society at large that as an individual, you can't do that much about. Other than help support those you know that are in a situation where they can use a little bit of help, a little bit of guidance. But we'll have to see where it goes. I'm walking over some limestone boulders here right now. A little bit rough going, trying not to fall on my ass. So I didn't mean this to be a real diatribe. It's just that sometimes I get incredibly frustrated by the bullshit we see everywhere. I mean, you watch the news, and if you happen to have been on the ground where the news is being filmed, you begin to realize that a lot of the times what they're putting on the TV isn't what actually was there, or what you saw. It's in a lot of cases outright lies. And when you have a half a dozen companies that control all the media, you begin to wonder, especially when they're all in lockstep with one another, what's the agenda? It certainly doesn't have your best interests in mind, which is probably why the rise of independent newscasters and podcasters is so popular right now, because those that are thinking outside the box can't watch regular media anymore. I know I got rid of my TV, cable TV, about 2011. I rarely watch it, and when I do, I just shake my head. I can't believe what crap they have on there. Totally removed from reality. We have major protests all over the world where sensible people are saying, hey, look, if I can't afford the diesel to put in my tractor, I can't afford to grow the food you eat. If my real estate or if my fertilizer prices go up 300%, there's certain crops that I'm not going to grow. Which means the people that go to the supermarket and think everything grows on the shelves in the store are in for a big surprise. This fall and next spring, the food that normally would have been there is not going to be there. But you don't see that on the news. So, on to this lesson. As always, think clearly, breathe deep, and enjoy your day. This is Mike from the Fulcrum. Now, get off your ass and change your life.